Hello and welcome to Good Life, the health show with me, Puja. Well, this is a show that focuses on providing you with solutions to your health-related issues, lifestyle and much more. Well, viewers, a kidney transplant is a surgery done to replace a diseased kidney with a healthy kidney from a donor. But one might have a lot of queries and myth regarding kidney transplant. So to discuss on these, we have with us Dr. Karan Saraf, a consultant nephrologist from Excelcare Hospital. So not to waste any more time, I'll straight away move to him and talk more on the topic which we have taken today. All right, thank you so much, Doctor, for coming to Good Life, the health show. So the topic which we have taken today is kidney transplant. Many queries, many myths might be surrounding to this topic. So first off, what is a kidney transplant? For the benefit of our viewers, what would you like to say?
Okay. So kidney transplant is a process where we take the kidney of a healthy individual and we put it into the body of a diseased individual.
Okay.
So these are the patients who have had a kidney disease for a long time, they have been on medicines for a long time, and now gradually the kidneys have started failing, the creatinine rises and it goes above 5. I am sure the people who have kidney disease will relate to it. And there comes a stage in their life when the kidney no longer supports the kidney function and they need to go for dialysis.
Okay.
That is called as a renal replacement therapy.
Renal replacement therapy.
Correct. So we have different options of renal replacement therapy where essentially the function of our kidneys is being done artificially by the machine, which is the dialysis. Now once the patient is on a dialysis, that's a temporary bridge. Once we can get him to a transplant, we put a kidney into his body and that kidney takes over the function of his own bodily requirements, and that is when he can be taken off dialysis and he no longer requires to be on dialysis.
Okay.
So here what we do is we screen an individual, say a person who is related to him. We'll come to the issues related to donors. But we screen the individual.
So this is the process we are talking about.
So we screen the person who is willing to give a kidney and we screen him for any diseases which he might have. We make sure that the person is healthy and then via a surgical process, which may be either an open surgical process or a laparoscopic process, we take the kidney from that individual and we put it into the right iliac fossa, that is the right lower abdomen of the person. So over the next 1 week, 10 days, the person gradually recovers. He starts putting out a lot of urine and his creatinine comes back to normal. He has to be on some basic medicines for the rest of his life, but essentially he comes off dialysis. So that improves his quality of life.
So this is the process and how it is done, a bit of a generic idea people or our viewer who are watching our show must be getting at this point in time. All right, doctor, now let's talk about that. When is a transplant needed? So when will that person know that he or she would have to go for a transplant?
So this is a very nice question because most of the people here are not aware as to when I can opt for a transplant.
Okay.
So I want to tell to our viewers that any person who is having a kidney disease, generally the kidney disease is of two types. One is a permanent kidney disease, one is a temporary. A temporary disease is such where, say you have a infection, you have a kidney stone that damages the kidney, the creatinine goes up. Creatinine is a measure of how much the kidney is damaged. So when the kidney is damaged, the creatinine goes up.
Creatinine.
Yeah, creatinine, that's a simple blood test.
Okay.
So say you have an infection, a stone disease or any urine infection which causes the creatinine to go up. This is generally a process which occurs over the last few days. So you treat the cause and the kidney comes back to normal.
Okay.
So this is where this is a temporary problem. But there is another situation where, say you have diabetes, you have hypertension, you have a cardiac problem, you have a genetic problem which causes the kidney to deteriorate slowly and steadily over months. So in that regard, we don't have medicines which can actually reverse the damage.
Okay.
We can slow down the process. We can give him more number of more number of years on medicine, but we really can't reverse the process. So once he reaches a stage where he needs to be on dialysis, when the creatinine is say more than 6, 7, that is the time he should opt for a transplant.
Okay.
So there is a thing called preemptive transplant.
Okay, doctor, we'll come to that, but we have a caller waiting, so let's take the call first. Hello.
Hello.
আমি শুনি আছো আপোনাৰ প্ৰশ্নটো কৰিব
মই সুধিব বিচাৰিছো যে মোৰ বহু দেউতাৰ ক্ৰিটিনাইনটো সদায় তাৰমানে কি ৰিঙতকে বেছিয়ে থাকে ক্ৰিটিনাইনটো বাঢ়ি সেইটো কাৰণে কি ইফেক্ট পৰি আছে নেকি বাৰু
Okay, creatinine to kiman thake tekhetor?
তাতে মই ৰিডিংটো পাইছো মোৰ মনত নাই কিন্তু এটা বেছিয়ে থাকে তাৰমানে যিমানটো থাকিব লাগে কেতিয়াও মেডিচিন খাই বা তেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ কণ্ট্ৰল কৰাৰ পিছতো নাথাকে তাৰমানে
তেখেতৰ সুগাৰ বেমাৰ হাই প্ৰেছাৰ বেমাৰ কিবা বেমাৰ আছেনে লগত?
নাই তেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ কোনো বেমাৰ নাই।
Okay. Okay. So, যিবিলাক ইনফৰমেশ্যন আপুনি আমাক কৈ আছে সেইটো অকণমান ইনএডিকুৱেট হয় মানে আৰু অকণমান জানিলে আমি ক'ব পাৰিম যে একজেক্টলি কি চিটুৱেশ্যনত আছে তেখেত। বাট আই এম চিয়'ৰ তেখেতক মোৰ ছাজেশ্যনটো থাকিব যে অকণমান ক্ৰিয়েটিনিন আৰু লগতে কিছুমান টেষ্ট থাকে এইটো চোৱাৰ কাৰণে যে কিডনিত প্ৰব্লেম সঁচাকৈ আছেনে নাই। কিছুমানৰ নৰ্মেল লেভেলতকৈ অকণমান বেছি থাকিব পাৰে নৰ্মেলিও, সেইটো একজেক্টলি কিডনি প্ৰব্লেম বুলি ক'ব নোৱাৰি। চ' মোৰ ছাজেশ্যন থাকিব যে এবাৰ অকণমান টেষ্ট কৰি কোনোবা নেফ্ৰলজিষ্টৰ লগত কনচাল্ট কৰি ফাৰ্ষ্ট জানি লওক যে কিডনি প্ৰব্লেম একচুৱেলি আছেনে নাই।
Okay. All right, so it's better to
Yeah.
get tested first,
Yeah.
and then things will be more clear,
Yeah.
and measures will be given and prescribed properly,
Yes,
isn't
yes,
it?
yes.
All
So-
right, doctor, we were talking about the transplant needed, so you were
Yeah.
talking about the term, so what was that?
Yeah, so that's a preemptive transplant. Preemptive transplant means that a person who is yet to go on dialysis, but the creatinine is above 5, above 6, the kidneys are not supporting his daily needs. That is the time he can go for transplant even without going for a dialysis.
Okay.
So that is called as a preemptive transplant. The other situation is the patient goes on dialysis and then he plans for a transplant. So say suppose he is on 3-4 months, 6 months on dialysis and then he can go for a transplant. And some cases what happens is the person is on dialysis for a long time. Say he is on dialysis for 2 years, 3 years, some people even up to 5 years. So it's never too late for a transplant. Even after being on dialysis for such a long period, he can always opt for a transplant.
Oh, doctor, but there is a myth surrounding in this question that if a person is for a longer dialysis, so can he or she go for a kidney transplant? So people also talk about this.
Yeah, surely. I mean, that's a very common question or doubt the patients have, that I've been on transplant for so many years, now whether the transplant will be successful. So definitely they can go for a transplant at any point of time. The only thing is we need to look at the age of the person. So if the person who is receiving a transplant, different centers have got different criteria to accept patients. In our center, we accept anybody who is below 65 years of age.
Okay.
But as long as he's healthy and he can cope up with the transplant, it doesn't really matter how long he has been on dialysis.
All right, depends on the patient actually.
Yeah.
So now if we talk about the age, what is the maximum age for transplant? If our viewer would like to know as well.
Yeah, like I said, so if it depends from center to center. Some centers even do transplant up to 70 years of age. At our center, we do up to 65 years of age.
Up to 65 years.
Yeah, so anybody below 65 is good to go.
All right. Now, we are talking about kidney transplant. For that, we need a donor. So, if we talk about the donor, so who can donate a kidney? If we talk about legally, officially, what would be that?
Yeah, so there are two types of donation basically. One is a live donor donation and one is a deceased donor donation.
Okay.
So when we talk about live donor, in India more than 90% of donations happen via live donor.
Live donor. So
Live
what is
donor
that?
means that one of our relatives or one of our known tos come forward and give a kidney voluntarily. That's a live donor donation. The other one is a cadaver donor, that is a deceased donor. That means a person, say a person has had an unfortunate death and he's brain dead and the family wants to donate a kidney, then we harvest the kidney from the body and we give it to the person who requires it. That is a cadaveric donation or a deceased donor donation. Unfortunately, the framework and the awareness about cadaveric donation is not much.
Okay.
And we are yet to start that program in this region of the country. But regarding the live donation, again, legally in India, the donation is allowed between close relatives.
Close relatives.
So first degree relatives are officially allowed to give a kidney. So when I say first degree, we mean mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, brother, sister, and sons and daughters.
Okay.
These are the first degree relatives who can come forward and willingly give a kidney. Now when we move to second degree relatives or third degree relatives, that has been categorized as a non-related donation in our country.
Okay. All right, doctor,
So-
we have a caller waiting.
Yeah.
So let's take the call first. We'll come to that donor part. Hello? 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 All right, the line got disconnected. We'll try and patch on that line. Okay, so we were talking about the donor.
Yeah, so
live donor.
When we come to second and third degree relatives, that unfortunately has been categorized as a non-related donation.
Non-related
donation.
Donation.
So there is they are still allowed to donate, but then the legal process is slightly longer. So that is the legal the definition of donation.
A lot of paperwork has to be done on that.
Yeah, so when we have first, there is a framework in place, and we have a committee here in Guwahati which looks into the paperwork and clears for donation.
Okay.
Now when we come to evaluating the person medically, a lot of people have a doubt that I have diabetes, can I donate? So a person who has diabetes, who has any sort of cancer, any active infection, these are the patients from whom we don't take a kidney.
Okay.
So apart from that, if a person has got hypertension, say BP, but he's controlled on some medicines, he has got a small cyst in the kidney, he has got a urine infection in the past, or he has had a surgery in the past, that really doesn't change our decision to take the kidney.
Okay, okay.
We can still go ahead and take the kidney.
Okay, so that doesn't matter much.
That does not
okay,
matter
doctor, we'll
much.
come to that. We have a caller waiting, so let's take the call. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. আমি শুনি আছো আপোনাৰ প্ৰশ্নটো কৰিব
মই ৰঞ্জিতে যোৰহাটৰ পৰা ক'লো
হয়
মানে কিডনি প্ৰব্লেমটো আজিকালি কমন হৈ গৈছে কিন্তু আমি কিডনিৰ যে প্ৰব্লেম হৈছে তাত আগতীয়াকে আমি কেনেবাকে গম পাব পাৰো ন কাৰণ কিডনি ড্যামেজ হোৱাৰ পিছত ট্ৰান্সপ্লান্ট কৰাটো বহুত খৰচী হয় তো যদি এৱাৰনেছটো আগতে আমি এৱাৰনেছ এটা ক্ৰিয়েট কৰিব পাৰো বা মোৰ কিডনি প্ৰব্লেম হ'ব নেকি বা হোৱা প্ৰচেছত আছে নেকি এইটো কেনেকে গম পাব
এইটো খুবেই ভাল কোৱেশ্চন কৰিছে আপুনি এইটো প্ৰিভেণ্টিভ কিডনি চেকআপ সো আমি কি কৰিব লাগে সাপোজ কিছুমান হাই ৰিস্ক পেশেন্টস থাকে যেনেকৈ সাপোজ আপোনাৰ যদি সুগাৰ আছে হাই প্ৰেছাৰ আছে কাৰ্ডিয়াক বেমাৰ আছে থাইৰয়েড বেমাৰ আছে ইউৰিক এচিডৰ বেমাৰ আছে তেতিয়া আমি সাজেষ্ট কৰোঁ যে ইয়াৰলি আপুনি কেইটামান বেসিক টেষ্ট কৰিব লাগিব যেনেকৈ এটা ক্ৰিয়েটিনিন এটা ইউৰিন টেষ্ট আৰু এটা ইউৰিন এলবিউমিন ক্ৰিয়েটিনিন ৰেচিঅ' এলবিউমিন ক্ৰিয়েটিনিন ৰেচিঅ' টেষ্টটো ইমান এৱেৰনেছ নাই আমাৰ মাজত এণ্ড ইভেন আমি যেতিয়া নৰ্মেল চেকআপত যাওঁ এইখিনি টেষ্টটো আমাৰ নৰ্মেল চেকআপত কৰা নহয় কিন্তু মই সাজেষ্ট কৰিম যে আপোনালোকে গৈ পেলাই নিজৰ সাইডৰ পৰা এলবিউমিন ক্ৰিয়েটিনিন ৰেচিঅ' ক্ৰিয়েটিনিন আৰু ইউৰিন ৰুটিন এই তিনিটা টেষ্ট যদি কৰা যায় আমি আৰ্লি ষ্টেজত কিডনিটো ধৰিব পাৰি কিডনি প্ৰব্লেমটো সো এইখিনি ৰিপৰ্ট লৈ পেলাই আপুনি যিকোনো এটা নেফ্ৰলজিষ্টৰ তাত গ'লে তেখেতে আপোনাক গাইড কৰিব পাৰিব যে আপোনাৰ কিডনি প্ৰব্লেমটো ষ্টাৰ্ট হৈছে বা হোৱা নাই আৰু যদি প্ৰব্লেমটো হোৱা নাই তেতিয়া ইয়াৰলি এইটো টেষ্ট আপুনি কৰি থাকিব পাৰে সো দ্যাট এট দি আৰ্লিয়েষ্ট আপুনি এইটো কেচ কৰি পেলাই সেইখিনি মেডিচিন ষ্টাৰ্ট কৰিব পাৰি
All right, thank you so much for calling. Doctor, the test which you have mentioned, so after that, what is the figure or what is the number one has to keep in mind that this is a very high number, so I have to go and visit a nephrologist?
30, 300, more than 300, so that's the cutoff.
Okay, 30?
30 and 300, these two numbers you should remember.
So if it's both for the male and female?
Both for the male and female. So if it is less than 30, it's normal. If it is 30, between 30 to 300, it means there is some problem.
Some problem.
And it's above 300 means definitely there is a problem.
Okay, okay. So one has to go and see so that things will be clear and doubts will be clear, isn't it?
So this is more required for these people who are at high risk, who have diabetes, hypertension, cardiac problems.
Okay.
So these are the patients who should be yearly screened for this test.
Okay, doctor, we were talking about the donor. A lot of paperwork has to be done, a lot of formalities has to go in. But if we talk about the immediate family members, then things become a bit less, isn't it?
Yeah. And plus, medically, we were talking about
who
can. So, like I said, a person who has had a surgery in the past, who has had hypertension but is well controlled, these are the patients who can really come forward and donate. Because what happens is when a person is suffering from a kidney disease, he is in a dilemma. He needs a kidney, but he cannot ask his family members to really come forward and give. It has to be a voluntarily, somebody from the family has to understand that he needs it, and he has to voluntarily come ahead and tell that I want to give. Whether it's possible or not, it's the second step. But I think that will to give is more than
actually enough. Because it is also physically and also mentally challenged for both the person, also for the patient and one for the donor as well, that I'm willing to give the kidney for my family member so that he has a healthy life. So but if we talk about legal issues, there are a lot of legal issues. So if any one opts for the second option which you have said, not the live donor, but for the second one which you have mentioned, that is being if a person has an untimely demise and we opt for that kidney, so one has to take a consent from the family members.
Yeah. We need there is a framework in place. So we as a nephrology forum, all the nephrologists in Guwahati, we are working towards getting that framework in place, and I'm sure in the near future, with the help of all the seniors, we would be able to get that framework in place where this process is laid down, that a person after his demise will be able to donate the kidneys. As of now, that framework in Assam is not yet in place.
So how long does it take for a kidney transplant procedure whenever a donor has already given? So do the surgeries being done on the same day, or is there a time frame for the surgery?
So what is done is the moment a person we identify that he is a person who is willing to give, we start some basic tests. So the person, both the recipient and the donor, they are tested for their blood groups.
Okay.
So the first step is the blood group should match.
Okay, the blood group should match.
Should match, yeah. So once the blood group matches, we go ahead and take the blood of the donor and the recipient, and we match it to look for any reactions. That is known as a cross-matching test.
Cross-matching test.
Yeah. So the test tells us that this blood is allergic, or say it's reactive to the donor. So if we find a positive result in that, then that donation cannot happen, that transplant cannot happen. So once that step is crossed, we see that there is no reaction and this body is willing to accept that kidney. That is when we go ahead and check for the basic parameters of the donor.
Okay.
So
that step by step things are being done.
So once we check the donor, we check their heart, we check their kidneys, we check their sugars, thyroid. So we make sure that that person is not going to have any problems in the future once the kidney is taken out. That process takes about a week to 10 days.
About a week, okay.
Yeah. So once that process is done with, then we counsel both of them that what would be the cost involved, what would be the legal issues involved. And
so a lot of procedures on that. We'll come to that, doctor. We have to slip into a short break. Well, viewers, we'll have to slip into a short break, but do come back soon because we have lots more on the other side. Welcome back, viewers. You're still watching Good Life, the health show with me, Puja, and we are having a fruitful discussion on kidney transplant. All right, doctor, coming back to you again, we had a fruitful discussion on the donor and what kind of procedures one has to go with. So now let's come on that. What are the problems you face after donating kidneys? So there might be some precautions also being taken, and what kind of problems the person would be facing. So what would be that?
Yeah, so once a person, like I was alluding to, that we thoroughly check the patient before taking the kidney. So we make sure that the person does not have, the biggest fear in the mind may be that once I donate a kidney, will I land up with a kidney problem? So if to put it in perspective, the chances of a normal person, like say me or you, with both the kidneys functioning normally, of having a kidney disease in future, in terms of percentage, is about 0.5 to 0.6%. That is the percentage which normal people have. Now once you donate a kidney and you are living with one kidney, that percentage increases by about 0.2%.
0.2%.
So it is still less than 1%. So the chances of that person, no doubt, is 0.2% more compared to us normal healthy individuals. But it's still a very minute percentage. So essentially,
that person can lead a normal life.
He leads a normal life. So there are some patients who have a single kidney from birth, and they never even know about it. They do an ultrasound because of, say, some other issues, and you pick up a kidney which is solitary. There is a single kidney. So one person living with one kidney is enough throughout his life. So after donation, we generally don't expect any person to go into a kidney failure. Nevertheless, there are some things which happen more frequently with a donated person, a person who has donated,
rather than the normal ones.
Yeah. So say that person is more likely to develop hypertension. He can develop a proteinuria, like we were discussing this urine albumin creatinine ratio. So that person may develop some amount of protein leakage in the urine, and some unfortunate people may develop a kidney problem. So that is where the regular checkup comes in. So if we make the patients aware and they come in for regular checkup, say once yearly or once in 2 years, we can screen these patients, and if we pick up these problems early with medications, we can keep their kidneys healthy throughout their life.
Okay. So it is also prescribed for the donor and also for the patient who has gone for the kidney transplant. Both has to come for regular checkups.
Correct. So a recipient checkup is more frequent.
So regular checkup is very important for both of them, also for the donor and also for the kidney transplant, the one who has gone for it.
Yeah.
So what are the other procedures one has to keep in mind while donating and after donating?
See, when we go for donation, these come with slight challenges. There is a financial challenge, there is an emotional challenge, there is a physical challenge. But that challenge gives us fruit because we are changing lives. That donation will change life of the recipient. So post donation, we as doctors are there to take care of the person who has donated the kidney.
Okay.
So if the person comes in for regular checkup, say once in a year, like I said, we can prevent most of the problems which can occur with these patients. So kidney donation is very safe, it can change lives, and we should create that awareness, and we should urge the people to come forward and voluntarily donate their kidneys.
Donate the kidneys. And once, if we talk about the donors, so things, they also have things in their mind that they have to keep a lot of idea on what kind of diet they have to go through and to drink a lot of water. So these are some of the basic things which family members would tell them. So what are the things behind this also, doctor? Can you please mention about this?
Diet for a voluntary kidney donor is a normal diet. There is no diet restriction.
Okay.
Yes, you cannot take painkillers which can damage the kidneys. You cannot smoke. You cannot take tobacco. These are the things which affect the kidney. So that's also true for any other person.
Any other person.
Even
it's
a
not
normal
only because of the
not only because of the donation, but even for a normal individual, these are the things which can affect the kidneys. So if you take basic precautions which do not affect your kidney, the diet otherwise is essentially the same, the normal diet. You should keep yourself well hydrated. Drinking water is always a good idea. Now there are some issues like females who come forward and donate. Unfortunately, in kidney in India, if you see, more than 80% of donations happen by the females. Either the wife gives to the husband or the mother gives to the son.
Okay.
So one common question is whether they can get pregnant later on, whether they can lead a normal life. So again, donation does not preclude you from becoming pregnant. You can have a normal child later on.
Normal child. Okay.
For the males, they have this question that can I lead a normal life, physically, or can I work normally? So again, after donation, your capacity to work or your capacity to do outdoor work remains the same. It doesn't change.
It doesn't make you a bit tired or something like that?
Never. It remains the same. It remains the same.
It remains the same. So these are some of the myths or some of the questions which circulate in everybody's mind.
Yeah.
So after you go for a kidney transplant, which is also a big term for everybody, you are going for a transplant.
Yes.
So after that, a lot of things changes, a lot of thing happens with you, with your body. Something has gone with your body. So is there any kind of thing that you will be tired at times? So it is nothing
Not
like...
at all. Not at all.
Okay, okay. Now, what are the benefits of transplant, doctor? If we talk about the benefits also for transplant, so that people can know that there are also some benefits.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question because say a person who is on dialysis, he may think I can be on dialysis for a long time. Why do I actually need to go for a transplant?
Now, we'll come to that benefit part. We have another caller waiting, so let's take his call as well. Hello?
Hello. Doctor, kata kota putibo lagisile je dialysis kora manu ene kiman man bosor jien asil.
Dialysis.
Okay. So dialysis ot actually eko timeline nai je kiman din jiyai thakibo pare. The world record for a person for a dialysis is 50 years.
50 years.
So manuhe 50 bosoru ase dialysis ot. Amar center ot kisuman manu ase 10 bosor hoi goise, kisumanor 5 bosor hoi goise. So approximate eta timeline dibo nwari je eta dialysis ot kiman din thakibo pare. But percentage wise 5 bosoror pisot eta manuhor jiyai thoka chance to around 30 to 40% hoy.
Okay.
So jodi eta patient aji dialysis ot uthe, jodi dialysis kora arombo kore, আজিৰ পৰা 5 বছৰৰ পিছত তেখেতে dialysis kori thoka percentage to 30% man hobo. Means there is a 70% chance
70%.
that person may not survive for 5 years.
Okay, okay. Now let's come to the benefits of a transplant, doctor. We are really short of time, so let's finish it up with some of the beneficial points.
The benefit of a transplant is both in terms of quantity of life and quality of life.
Okay.
So like our caller just pointed out,
dialysis,
and I said ki the chances of the person being alive at the end of 5 years is round about 30%. Now if you do a transplant, the same percentage, the same person of being alive at the end of 5 years is more than 95%. So we are adding a number of years to his life.
Okay.
The second thing is the quality of life. So on dialysis, the person has to come to the dialysis center twice or thrice a week. He loses his work. He can't work for those days.
Okay.
In transplant, he goes back to work normally. He can have even his sexual life is not there on dialysis.
Okay.
In transplant, he can lead a normal life. His income goes up. His financial burden goes down.
Okay.
Because on dialysis, the cost of being on dialysis for a year is around about 2 to 3 lakh rupees.
All right.
So over the next 3-4 years, he'll be spending 15-20 lakh rupees on dialysis. Whereas on transplant, upfront he has to spend some money, but then the monthly cost comes down.
Monthly cost.
Yeah. So
Okay.
over the 5 years, he will be saving money. So financially also it's beneficial for the person.
So this is for the person who is also on dialysis. So these are the benefits for him or her as well.
Correct. So the benefit of transplant is it adds number of years to your life. You live longer and you live a better life.
All right. So an important question, cost of kidney transplant. Everybody has a myth about this also. It's very costly. So could you please make them clear that what exactly the figure is all about and what kind of like confusions that has been created in everybody's mind?
So yeah, that's a good question. So the transplant cost has come down drastically over the last few years.
Okay.
And right now, if you do a transplant in Guwahati, you end up spending around about 6 to 7 lakh rupees maximum combined cost for the donor and the recipient. And then you need to spend some amount of money for medicine, say about 15-20,000 rupees a month for medicines for the first 6-7 months. And then the government is sponsoring free medicines from the medical college. So the cost of transplant has come down drastically. No doubt this figure changes person to person, but this is an approximate cost.
So is there any percentage set for the donor that what kind of amount that person has to be given? Is there any kind of like a...
No.
Okay.
So if there is a transaction between the recipient and the donor, if the donor has accepted some money in exchange for the kidney, that becomes illegal.
Okay, okay.
So that is not allowed.
That is not allowed. Actually, it has to be willingly given.
It has to be a act of willingness.
Act of willingness. And there is also one kind of myth that surrounds is that one who goes for the kidney transplant can survive only for 1 or 2 years. So is it something like that?
No. So the success rate of transplant has improved drastically. Right now the success rate is 95% at the end of 1 year and about 90% at the end of 5 years. So a person who has had a kidney transplant will stay alive for a much longer time.
Okay.
But his kidneys will be functioning normally for about 5 to 7 years on an average.
All right.
Some people have a functioning kidney even up to 15-20 years.
Okay, doctor, we have to end up the show right now. So what would be the final lines you would like to tell the viewers out there?
I would say that kidney donation is coming up, and it's recently the awareness for kidney transplant has improved because of the print and the electronic media and the increasing number of transplants which are happening on a daily basis. In Guwahati, there are multiple options to do a transplant. The medical college is doing a transplant. Our center, we have started the transplant program. Hospitals like Apollo, Dispur, they are already doing. Downtown Hospital, they are already doing. So there are a lot of options for transplant in Guwahati as of now.
Okay.
There is a huge burden of patients who are on dialysis. The dialysis centers are getting overburdened. Patients are not finding enough dialysis machines to do dialysis. So I urge everybody that if you are a family member of any person whom you know that is having a kidney problem, you should come forward and you should donate your kidney. That act of willingness will change your life and the person's life.
All right, such wonderful words out there. Thank you so much, Doctor, for this fruitful discussion. And viewers, with this, we have come to the end of the show, and we hope that we were able to answer all your queries in the best possible way. And in our next episode, we will be discussing on some other important health issues. So if you have any queries, do join us next Saturday at 3:30 p.m. live. Till then, stay healthy, stay fit, and keep watching Northeast Live. Goodbye.